Okay, in this video, we're going to take a look at how to do a simple animation like this. I've got just an arrow pointing to a lady in a crowd, and just kind of, that's really it. But this is an animation that wouldn't have been possible using the image animation. It's just a little bit more, got a little bit more variety to it. And so we're going to look at how easy it is to create an animation like this with Animation Designer. So I'll start by going ahead and delete that. And now I've got a couple settings here that it's going to go ahead and remember. Like really, I just changed the from none to bounce, so it'll already have that in there. So that's but we can't do anything about that unless I refresh. But otherwise, we're starting from scratch. So let's go ahead and rewind here, and I'm going to add an empty block there, and we'll come over to the library because we're going to do a search for one of the included assets in the graphics. So I have some arrows there. So do a quick search, and here's the animation or the arrow that I was using before. So I'll go ahead and add that to the stage. Now at this point, let's go ahead and click off of that and back on so we can get our context-sensitive Animation Designer menu there, our options. And so at this point, my animation is pretty similar to what I would have had if I was using the simple image animation, what we used to just call image animation. Let's go ahead and look at that right here. Before, when I would have it just coming in from the left. So right now there's not a whole lot of difference there. We have effects in simple image animation, but it's a little boring. So what I wanted to do is be able to have it kind of go on a curve, and I wanted it to kind of follow that curve. So we have auto rotate on here. So actually that's the other option that I turned on. I turned on the bounce and then turned it on the auto rotate. Otherwise it was mostly the default settings. But to continue on, I'm just going to go ahead and size this up a little bit here. Now you can see that we have this bounding box, and this bounding box is representing where the animation ends, because that's kind of what we need to use to position it. So we want to know where it wants to be when the in animation ends. So we've got it there. I can scrub along here and see where the animation is going to go along the path. One of the great advantages of having a path-based design, well, you already know visually where that animation is going to go along. It's just along this path. So if I want to have other, have other options here, and I can actually edit that path that I have right here. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on the path, and you can see I have an endpoint, and actually over here we have a point here as well. Now if I click on that point, there's a little option here. It's a little Bezier curve kind of control here. And I can use that to change the lineup. So I want to create it nice and curved animation. Just kind of want it's a little bit more interesting than the only from left or straight line that we had originally. And because auto rotate is on, it's going to kind of auto rotate along that line as it goes along the path. Now, one of the things that you always want to do when you're happy with your animation and it's done and complete, you want to apply the settings again just to kind of seal it in, especially if you're creating templates, because what that does is a little bit of a database in here, and it sort of locks those settings into the database. So you want to do that before you save or create a template. So I'm going to go ahead and rewind, and pretty much we have our animation ready to go. I just need to position it pointing at the lady again. So let's come over here. And you see I have the bounce option on, and the option is set to right, which is this is the right edge of it. But thanks to the auto rotate, it's also kind of allowing me to kind of bounce a little bit at that angle. So let's look at it one more time. So we get a nice, that's a far more interesting animation than just coming only from the left. And I'll just go ahead and turn auto rotate off just so we can see what that would look like. See, it's less interesting obviously that way. Not quite the way we would need it. So Animation Designer gives us the options for a little bit better animation and more interesting. And really, it took me longer to describe this than I actually do. Really, I could have just imported the image, sized that up, changed that line really quick. If I was starting from scratch, I would just select bounce, turn on auto rotate, apply the settings, and I'm done. So Animation Designer is really easy. Now, a lot of times you'll look at this and go, man, there's a lot of options here, but really you'll find that you're not using all of them most of the time. They're there when you need them, but you can pretty much ignore them when you don't. So that's how you can get some great animation out of Animation Designer.